Good morning. Welcome to Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel. Apologies for being a bit late today. Had a basketball stream ahead of us. So I had to put some buffer between that and this. Anyway, I'm Chris Lee, joined by Chase Robinson and Jay Greeson. We'll talk college football playoff. Before that, we'll talk tonight. So you guys are all here. Expect the big Kentucky presence here this morning. See Holly here already. Always good to see her here. Before we get into everything, a reminder, we are brought to you by our friends at Game Time Sidekicks, which is in the business of producing these lovely stainless steel drinkware items. You can see my 40-ounce tumbler. They've got stainless steel sippy cups for Lane Kiffin. They got 40-ounce bottles. They got shaker cups. They've got officially licensed merchandise for every SEC school, 350 other universities, SE16. Get you 20% off your entire order at GameTimeSidekicks.com. All right, gentlemen. I don't know that we knew that Kentucky, within almost, 48 hours of letting Mark Stoops go, not even that officially, was just going to have a new coach same day. But here we go. Will Stein, Oregon's offensive coordinator, is heading to Lexington. I think, if I heard correctly, he's getting to coach the playoff as an OC at Oregon. Don't know how that's going to work. But anyway, Jay Greeson, I'll let you start here. Your thoughts on Will Stein to Kentucky.
One, visor tip to amid all the chaos and hecticness, this actually felt like professionals were doing this. I mean, it was time to pull the tooth that was Mark Stoops. I hope he gets his flowers. I hope they bring him back next year and have a ceremony for him. He set records at Kentucky, but it was time. And without all the drama, they moved quickly. They moved effectively. I think Willie Stein is a steal. He's learned under a guy who is good at this. And he is exactly what had to be. He brings a box that had to be checked. This had to be an offensive hire. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. It just had become so stale. And in this uber competitive SEC, I think you can win with a defensive guy. Mike Elko's a defensive guy. But you can't win with the offense that is catered directly and solely around a defensive game plan. And that has proven out in Kentucky. And look, the way it ended, the way it ended, I'm happy for our Kentucky fans in the chat. I think you feel so much better about everything moving forward. And it is, in truth, I said this to you, Chase, on your radio show. If I was John Cohen in the Auburn search, I would have asked Deuce Knight's opinion. I hope Kentucky asked Cutter Boley's opinion. And Cutter Boley, considering what Will Stein has done in his short time in Oregon with Dylan Gabriel, a relative unknown who's now an NFL starter, and Dante Moore, a relative, I'm not saying unknown, but not going to be a Heisman finalist, and you do that through the portal. This is, if I'm not saying that this is cut down the nets, go to the Final Four big. This is a great day to be a UK Wildcat.
Also, Jay, not to be confused with Willie Cauley-Stein.
No,
different guy.
I got to believe he shoots free throws better than Willie Cauley-Stein.
I hope he does.
So, hey, here we go. God bless Kentucky. Hey, we're all part of the Commonwealth today. And I know, Chase, I've been bottled up. I'm sitting here with two dogs. I don't have anybody to talk to. By all accounts, everything I've read says he's going to stay with Oregon. Look, Lane, it can be done. You handle this like professionals. And now, granted, it's an OC,
a little different argument.
But the smoothness of this has to be commended across both sides, all sides.
Chase, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think they nailed it. And I think, and you bring up a good point, Jay, of like involving the quarterback, whether they involved him or not. I think they did Cutter Boley a service by bringing in a guy like Will Stein. Now I know he's probably going to weigh all his options. That is Cutter Boley, see what he wants to do, but I think he would fit nicely with what Will Stein does. And I think that would be a bonus for Kentucky if they're able to keep him. But I think it's a great hire, and they handled it well. They knew what direction they wanted to go. Obviously, they made it so fast. And so credit to Kentucky. Like you were saying, Jay, the way they handled this, very professional. And again, quick, they knew in their mind this was going to happen. They were ready. They made the hire. And now they're ready to get to work. And I do think it's a really good hire. Played at Louisville, so from a rival school, has ties to Kentucky though. But I think a really good hire by Kentucky. And I think we're going to see a different style of Kentucky football now. We've been seeing the same thing for however many years that Stoops was there, and we're going to see something fresh now. I think that's what Kentucky fans want to see, something fresh. It's going to be different. It's going to be sharp. It's going to be a different style of football, and I think that's really good for Kentucky.
It's weird, just as an aside, for as much as Louisville and Kentucky hate each other, there's been a pretty amazing amount of crossover between the two athletic programs. I mean, Kenny Payne in basketball, there's a couple of right on the tip of my tongue. But this is another one, quarterback at Louisville, now at Kentucky. So I guess all that's forgiven if you're the right guy and able to handle it right. But hey, look, I think the big thing for Kentucky, I think Jay might have touched on it earlier. This is going to be a little bit of a challenging rebuild, I think. But when you're going to go through that, and I think this is a credit to Mark Stoops, right? Mark Stoops built it on defense, which doesn't excite people, but he was solid enough in his rebuild that he got Kentucky to a pretty consistent level till it dropped off. I guess the next phase of Kentucky football, Jay, is at least you're going to be maybe a little bit more exciting until you're good, although that didn't always work out at Arkansas. So there's a limited bit of patience for that. But, Kentucky's thing is they've just been dysfunctional on offense for so long. It's just a, roulette of coordinators and quarterbacks and whatever. I'm interested to see offensive stability and maybe a little bit more exciting brand of football out of Lexington after this.
Forget stability. Bring innovation. And here is my viewpoint on the way the changes in college football and the dominoes forget dominoes. The ripple effects from dropping the boulder in the college football pond of the portal and NIL means no longer do you consider, can we keep the recruiting class together? Go buy the recruits in January. No longer do you consider truly how good of a recruiter is this guy? Because Hugh Freeze recruited his headset off, and they sucked because he was terrible. And because the guys you pay for check one of two boxes. Either they are an unbelievable leader of men, and that is worth whatever you want to pay for it, or they are unbelievable at scheming an advantage that gives you an extra touchdown or an extra stop. And then when those two things come together, you get Kirby bleeping smart. So if moving forward, the leader of your most valuable asset, not at Kentucky per se, but every other college, even Duke, the leader of your most valuable asset has either got to be a man you will follow into a fire or a guy you trust to diagram you out of 4th and 18. And that's one of the two. And I think this guy has a chance to do that, which as a Kentucky fan should make you thrilled. Now, I don't know what kind of leader of men he is. I don't know if he's ever been a head coach. I mean, for God's sakes, he's as young as Chase looks. So it is But this is a chance Kentucky has to take. Has to. You go get a guy who's been in the wars of the competitive nature. And it is because Oregon's been right there toe-to-toe in a Big Ten that's been every bit as good as of the SEC the last handful of years. And they don't have to apologize to anybody.
I'm always a little skeptical of the young shiny object. I think a lot of times you get coaches like Dan Mullen, and Brian Kelly. I know Brian Kelly's a punching bag right now, but those guys have track records of winning a lot of football games at big places. On the other hand, sometimes these things work. Jay, you always say something like, hey, I would go get a guy that, is a video game wizard with play calling to run my offense. So I get that side of it too. I think part of it, you look and head coaching skill sets and coordinator sets are different things, but UTSA has always had a good offense. He was there for 3 years, and at Oregon, they're good offensively under his watch too. Plus, now he's developed different quarterbacks. It was Dylan Gabriel a year ago to that special season for Oregon. This year, they get Dante Moore in the transfer portal, and he's been one of the best quarterbacks in the country. So I think the track record isn't long, Jay, but I think in terms of doing what he's been asked, it's been really good so far.
And let's be very real here. The most expensive player on Kentucky's roster is the disaster that is Zach Calzada. And you won't talk about checking boxes in the modern era of college football. Show me an offensive guy who can take a quarterback in 6 months and through the portal and turn him into a Heisman candidate on Saturdays in the fall, like he did with Dante Moore, like he did with Dylan Gabriel. So that's a real asset. And now you come in. So even if Cutter Boley decides to explore options, who else are you? I mean, other than maybe Kurt Signetti in Indiana, who's more trustworthy to go plow the portal and produce a product? And yes, that's some big time alliteration. Plow the portal to produce a product. I'm quite happy with it.
I like the younger coach hire with them going with a younger guy. I mean, he's 36. I think we're at the point in college football where a lot of it is, it's not as relationship built, but he is closer in age to the players than other coaches are. I think that helps in recruiting. He can relate with them. He can be more innovative. He's not set in his ways of I've been doing this for 30 years and we're going to keep doing this. No, I think he has a chance to be more innovative. The relationship aspect, I think will go well for him at 36. I think that aspect of it will help at a job like this in Kentucky where he does have to change a lot.
Jay, you said something I wanted to push in on a little bit. I think it was accurate, but in the ever-changing landscape of college football, accurate at the moment. You talked about the portal and recruiting skills being kind of minimized in high school relationships. I mean, at some point with NIL, are we not going to get back around a little bit more to the way things used to be, where it may be a bigger percentage of your roster, but once kids get locked into contracts at school and can't transfer as much, is Kentucky maybe getting a little bit ahead of the curve with the young guy can relate to kids? If a bigger percentage of your roster maybe is guys you recruited going, and I'm projecting, right? But I also think that you have to think that this is going to change some way. In other words, are you getting a little bit ahead with the guy that might be a good recruiter of high school kids with this move?
Okay. To backtrack, and either I misspoke or I wasn't clear enough.
Well, I was going to say, I don't mean to put words in your mouth.
Yeah. In the decision-making process of pulling the trigger on Stoops at the 11th hour because it had to happen.
Right.
And then as opposed to, oh my God, we're going to lose our entire recruiting class.
Right.
36 hours before signing day. Recruiting is always going to matter. In fact, I'll go a step further in that. The ripple effect of the boulder in the NIL portal pond is recruiting is always going to matter, but what's going to be super hyper focused is you're going to need to find talent evaluators, because you can't afford, you're going to have to make championship programs with a couple 2-star seniors who are not breaking your bank in your NIL, your salary cap, for a lack of a better phrase, because it's universally recognizable. They're not going to get paid until they're juniors and seniors. So it's going to put intense focus on your talent evaluation of high schoolers, because you're still going to have to be able to recruit. And it's going to put intense motivation and demands on your player development, which is, look, you guys have heard me say it multiple times. They're the 4 most important guys to winning an SEC championship are your head coach, your strength and conditioning coordinator, your quarterback, and the schedule maker in Birmingham. And it may not be in that order after head coach. And I think Kentucky checks a box here that I think this guy could be good. Look, Kentucky was not going to get at the 11th hour. They weren't going to go land Lane Kiffin, okay? They weren't going to go get everybody's goo-goo gaga. Kentucky basketball could, but Kentucky football's not. So what did they get? And what have I said multiple times? You either peddle success or you peddle hope. And now they can peddle hope because they haven't been peddling success.
Chase, your thoughts on, I guess what I'm trying to, and by the way, Jay, I wasn't refuting anything you said.
No, I know you weren't.
I
not have articulated it properly.
Well, and I didn't either. Do you think there's something to be said about getting ahead with the guy? And like, he's got ties to the area, being from there and everything. So I think he would know high school coaches and stuff. Like, if this shifts back a little bit, I'm not going to say it's a huge advantage right away, but if he's there down the road, is this maybe a little bit of a getting ahead of move by Kentucky, Chase?
I mean, I think it very well could be. And again, it depends on a lot. A lot has to work out in his favor, and he's got to win games and get a good roster. But I think it could. And because, again, innovation, recruiting, he's from that state. He understands that state. He knows what those players want to hear. I think it very well could.
Anything else on Kentucky and Will Stein, guys, before we talk playoffs? I'm getting a contemplative look from both of you, but no words. So, okay. The look told me, I think, what I needed to know, and you just confirmed it. But, yeah, playoffs tonight, Chase, not the final poll. I'm guessing this one will be pretty influential, though, because, like, for teams that aren't playing anymore, I'm looking at Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, Notre Dame, Miami. I don't know if they've ever flipped teams that weren't playing games except to get past or moved ahead of teams that lost games in title games. But it feels like maybe final answer for some of these teams that don't have conference title games tonight. What are you watching for, Chase? I'll start with you.
I mean, I'm really curious of if they change anything major before, because I don't think they will. I think tonight may be the night they would make some major moves based off what we saw last week ahead of conference championship weekend. I feel like there's 8 teams locked in right now. And then you've got the teams that are kind of on the outside. What are they going to do if Alabama loses? Where are they going to be sitting tonight? What are they going to do with Notre Dame, with Miami, Vanderbilt, all these teams that are right there on the outside, have a valid argument of why they should be in the college football playoff, but there's only so many spots.
Yeah.
But you've got your Ohio State, Indiana, Georgia, A&M, Texas Tech, Oregon, Ole Miss, Oklahoma that they're in. I think those are locks. And I'm just curious, outside of those 8, what it looks like. And if we can get some better explanations, I don't think we will, some better explanations on why they've put some of these teams where they have, just so we'll know heading into next weekend kind of what to expect.
Jay?
So from the league, you think locks. Georgia's a lock.
Yeah.
A&M's a lock.
I'll tell you what. Let me reset it just to make it kind of neat. Okay, locks. Ohio State, Indiana, both unbeaten. Does not matter. Winner's going to be the number 1 seed, right?
Go out there and play
loser
rock,
getting
paper,
in anyway.
scissors in Indiana. I mean, go send your best Rochambeau player to midfield and make it 2 out of 3. You can do a commercial in between the first and second round of rock paper scissors. It doesn't mean it's not, because
it might mean do you get the 1 or do you get the 3 or 4? Yeah, well, and I think like loser of that game still is a top 4 seed, don't you think?
I would think so, as long as it's not an absolute bloodletting.
Yeah. So those are your undefeated ones. That's 2 of them. We're just going to count them as we go. Your 1-loss locks. Georgia, you mentioned, going to be in, so that's 3. Ole Miss, Texas A&M, that's 4, and that's 5. And I think Oregon's going to be a lock, so that's 6. Let me just pull something up to make sure.
I think Texas Tech's a lock.
Oh yeah. I think
they're in the rare spot here, Chris. Pardon me, where they could lose the conference title game and then they split with the champion because they beat BYU handily the first time they met. I think ESPN FPI's, which I'm souring on a little bit, is got them, but they're only the ones that really do this without having to do a lot of digging. They've got Texas Tech at 98%. So it means there's a 2% chance. Obviously, that would be if BYU won the game. But I think, barring something crazy, Texas Tech is going to be in there too. So that gets us to 7 locks?
Yeah.
Look, Oklahoma, in my mind, is locked.
I think I have one of my.
I think so too. Yeah. And that's the reason I haven't mentioned that we're getting out of the 2 losses. So I agree with you. Like Oklahoma, I don't know that Oklahoma is basically going to be the 10 best teams right now. Because then you're adding in whatever comes out, whatever garbage heap comes out of this, the group of 5 in the ACC. So you're either going to get Virginia probably in. If Duke wins, maybe you get James Madison and you get North Texas. I don't know how it's going to look, but point is, those 2 teams aren't even in the realm of this discussion. So I think, to me, Oklahoma would be an 8, and I don't know that Oklahoma, like the look test right now, it's been kind of ugly. The offense you just don't trust, but the wins have just been piling up. You look at the good ones they've got Michigan. They've got, lost to Texas, lost to Ole Miss. So neither of those bad losses. 1 at Tennessee, 1 at Alabama, beat Missouri, beat LSU. Like not a lot of teams have. I mentioned them first, but that's like a half dozen quality wins. And I think Auburn's a quality win. I didn't even go there because people might laugh at me, but hey, they've got more than enough, more than most people have. So resume, Oklahoma's in. You're not buying it.
Not so fast, my friend.
Well,
don't let me put a mascot head on.
I will put it this way: compared to the
when Hugh Freeze was there, it's not a quality win. Look, man, he gift wrapped more presents than the Macy's counter on December 23rd. All right, that dude just gave stuff away. No, but it's a top flight defense. This is bad mouthing Hugh Freeze. This is not bad mouthing Oklahoma. Yeah. I think Oklahoma's locked. So that gets us to 8. And the scary thing is it gets us to 8 that I believe are locked, and we hadn't mentioned Alabama yet.
Yeah. Well, by the way, that's on me for not seeing that coming. I should have known the minute I opened my mouth on that. I was going to get a rebuttal out of Jay Greeson. But anyway, it was a minor point anyway. We retract that from the record, please, Your Honor. Okay.
Well, they don't let me sit here for my good looks. That's damn true.
Well, hey, we're all on the same page. That's 8. Okay, and then here's who you've got fighting for that last spot. You've got Alabama, which has a game to play. Win in Alabama's in for sure. Lose, I think I still put Alabama in. Now get beat, 31-10, maybe not. What do you guys think?
There's going to be the politicking part of this is about to get feisty because every Miami fan, if Alabama loses and doesn't get the auto SEC bid, every Miami ACC fan is going to say, yeah, one of those three was to a crap-tastic FSU team. And it wasn't by a field goal. It wasn't by the kick six either. Florida State punched him in the face. And I know that was 3 months ago. Look, and you're going to start getting into a place because we hadn't mentioned Notre Dame yet either, boys.
Yeah.
And now you're talking about a 3-loss team. I don't know if anybody's got more at stake, with the possible exception of BYU, than Alabama going into conference championship weekend.
Well, if Alabama wins and BYU wins, then I think it's settled. It's those 8 and then those 2 teams. Do we agree?
But now you're also checking all 4 of your conference championship boxes, or at least 3 of them, so you're going to add 1 more.
No?
Yes.
I don't think so. What have I missed?
Well, if you said if BYU and Alabama win, then that's your 10. But
Right,
BYU
right.
be the Big 12 champion, Alabama be the SEC champion. The winner of Ohio State, Indiana or BYU be the Big 12 champion. The winner of Ohio State, Indiana will be the Big 10 champion. That's 3 conference champions. The ACC
I've already roped off the other. I've already roped off the other 2 spots. We've reduced the argument to 10. 11 and 12 are irrelevant to this discussion, unless I'm missing something.
Well, there's only the top 4 conference champions are in, right?
Top five.
Top 5 conference champions.
Top 5, period. They don't even have to be in the poll. It's just the top 5 they determine. That's why I've set them aside as a separate pool.
Okay.
And this is really where it gets so tough. Yeah, 5 automatic bids going to the 5 highest ranked conference champions. And I think there's even a clarification in there that if they're not ranked in the poll, they'll pick one. Which really stinks. That's an adjustment they should make. And then here's what you would have if they did that. If they said, hey, conference champions got to be ranked. Virginia might be ranked anyway. Well, I guess you'd have a group of 5 team ranked anyway. But I don't know. I've really soured on this idea, but it's what we're stuck with. So, I mean, if Alabama and BYU win, they're in. If Alabama and BYU lose, I think your teams that have an argument outside them, of course, those are in the pool of discussion, both of them. In addition to that, you've got Miami, Vanderbilt, maybe Texas. I doubt it. Maybe Utah. I doubt it. Oh, Notre Dame. Well, yeah.
They would be the first one in my opinion. If Alabama and BYU lose, I feel like Notre Dame would be the first one they pull
first one out. Well, but then who gets bumped? Oh, you mean if they lose? You said if they lose. I'm sorry, Chase. Yeah. I misheard you. Yeah, if they win, Notre Dame, I think, gets bumped.
I think there's no way they punish someone playing in a conference championship. They've been about that this whole time, and so I don't see why they would neglect to do that now. They've done some surprising things in the past, though, but I feel like Alabama's safe as long as they don't get blown out. But I agree, if it gets ugly, then I don't think they're in there. Because again, then you're going to face, well, what do we do with Vanderbilt? Because Alabama beat Vanderbilt, and we're going to put them over. So I think Alabama is okay as long as they don't get blown out.
Yeah. Yeah, look at it. Okay, Oklahoma was 8 ahead of Notre Dame last week. Notre Dame beat Stanford, which is awful. Oklahoma beat, an LSU team that's still pretty talented despite the disappointment. So I don't see Notre Dame jumping Oklahoma tonight. So I was starting to question there if Oklahoma's safe, but it feels like to me they are. So yeah, you're looking at, depending on what happens, Notre Dame, Alabama, BYU, Miami. Do we think Utah's out of it? I mean, common sense should tell you Utah's out of it, but Utah's got an AD on the committee.
There's so many tentacles, but I think the big thing, without playing too much of what if on the conference Saturday, is the importance of where these things stack. Because Chase, I don't disagree with you. And Sam put it in the chat, and he put it eloquently. There's no possible way they're going to truly hold the conference championship games. I mean, you can't just treat it as another checkbox loss. And so, because, look, it did Ole Miss a huge favor that Auburn spit up in its mouth late in that game. Because Ole Miss going to Atlanta without Lane and the committee seeing what Ole Miss could be without Lane, and it could be great, but it could be terrible. You can't reward Ole Miss for not making it. I mean, because you're then theoretically going to include 4 or 5 SEC teams and keep the SEC runner-up out. But then the converse argument of that is Duke.
I think I've got a rebuttal to that. I'm gonna let Chase speak first here. I mean, not an entire rebuttal, but a thought coming off it is maybe a better way.
Go
to
ahead,
say
Chris.
It. Well, here's what I'm thinking. Okay, what do we always say about the SEC compared to the rest of the leagues? Because of the balance of the schedule. Because you got Alabama's playing Georgia's, you got Oklahoma's playing Alabama's. You got a lot of these playoff teams going up against each other in a way that you don't see in the other leagues, other than maybe once a year. In addition to that, you got a whole mid-tier of teams. You got Missouri's, you got LSU's, you got Tennessee's that you don't see in typical weeks. I think that counts for something. We've gotten locked in this thing where, oh, well, if you lose more than 2 games, you stink. Like, I mean, I've heard people denigrating Vanderbilt's win over Tennessee this week. Well, Tennessee's 8-4. Well, yeah, they lost to Alabama. They lost to Georgia. They lost to Oklahoma. All teams that are in the playoffs, right? So, like, we play this game where we tie ourselves up in circles over win-loss records, and we don't look at who wins. Like, if you're going 8-4 in the Big 12, you're losing to Baylor. You're losing to some other team that doesn't get on the scale with this. And here's the point I'm getting to, Jay. Now what you're doing with these conference title games is you're giving BYU an opportunity with the Texas Tech, a level of game that it doesn't see often in its league, where you got SEC teams, they're seeing 4 and 5 of those. So to me, if BYU doesn't handle that spot and doesn't win the game, I don't have any problem leaving BYU out of the playoff. Now, Alabama's a different discussion for precisely the same reason. Alabama's already played these teams. I mean, Alabama's already beaten Tennessee. Alabama's already beaten Georgia. And you brought up Texas Tech, BYU. Like, what if Texas Tech and BYU split? Well, if Alabama loses to Georgia, you can also say Alabama beat Georgia in its ballpark. I think, to me, it is some of these teams outside the SEC are getting a tough game in their conference championship, the likes of which you see on a weekly basis once you get into the SEC season. You're holding against these SEC teams for losing those types of games. I don't have any issue holding it against BYU losing to Texas Tech in a title game for that reason. I don't know if that made sense or not, but it does to me.
Well, I'm glad it does to you. It makes more sense when you had divisions in the league. Because there is a slanted, unbiased schedule.
Yes.
Oklahoma's schedule was a hell of a lot tougher than A&M's. I mean, and we just, because of the win-loss record, we consider A&M a dunk.
Yes.
A&M played one top third-ish team, and that's Texas, and they got beat. They didn't. Yeah. They skipped Ole Miss. They skipped Oklahoma. They skipped Alabama. They skipped Georgia. I mean, so look, I get what you're saying, and Greg Sankey message aside of it just means more. The SEC is better, but I don't know how much better because look, man,
you don't see the leagues play each other that often outside of the league. I mean, you see Ohio State and Texas lose, you play each other, and then what happens?
Alabama.
Well, and look,
the ACC kicked the snot out of the league this last weekend, even if they were disappointing bottom tiers. And I do think the SEC is the best league, but I don't think it is a good conversation or a good precedent to set to say we're going to use this prism for these guys and this prism for that guy, because then you're turning this into an even more disruptive beauty pageant that has no rhyme or reason. I mean, at least I get the premise of you can't hold it against a team to get to a conference championship game and lose, because that should be the goal. If that happens consistently, do away with the conference championship games. Go ahead and expand this mother bleeper and start it on the first Saturday of December, and I'll just start watching early. But it is, I mean, you pick and choose and start telling me which girl is prettier. Well, that's just one dude's opinion.
Yeah.
And it's what really scares me about where we are today and where we're expanding to.
Yeah, no, you said basically what I was saying. You just articulated it probably better than I did. You and I are in total agreement on that. Chase, your turn for the mic here.
No, I agree with everything you guys were saying. I echo that, and that was good.
I think
took
eventually
words right out of my mouth, Jay.
He's not the best color man in baseball for nothing, fans. That's mine for Major League. I'm sorry. That's all we got is one blank hit. You can't say that on the air. Nobody's listening anyway.
One of the old timers. Chase, you've seen that, right?
I have, yes.
Yeah. I mean, the conference championship game's on the way out anyway, eventually, because what would stop?
Because the conference cashes the direct that check directly. Greg Sankey will tell those folks to quit paying UTC or what was it Dan Lanning said? It's not like we just played Chattanooga State.
Chattanooga State, yeah.
Well, Dan, I hate to tell you, Chattanooga State does not have football. But it's there you go.
Well, I mean, you're right. Greg Sankey would throw it. I mean, if Georgia just said, "Hey, screw it, we're in the playoff anyway," let's play our third stringers. You can imagine how well that would be received. But I mean, aren't we going to get to a point where you treat these things like, the last game of the NFL season when you've clinched a bid, you got your seed locked in, and your backup quarterback starts the game and your starter maybe doesn't even dress. I mean, I feel like logically that's where people are going to go because of incentives. And I was listening to McCready and Siskey, who run a fantastic podcast, by the way. And the thing they've been calling is, hey, look, if Duke beats Virginia, then change is coming, because Duke's going to get left out and you're going to see two group of fives. And then you're going to have an ACC that says, what the heck? We just played a meaningless title game. What are we doing here? And Miami's the best team in that league, by the way. Not getting in the title game.
That change could be a whole lot of individual ACC teams looking up and going, Greg, you got any room for us? Can we?
Yeah.
I mean, and then the ACC is going to become the Big East, and they're just going to put all their money in basketball. And look, man, the NIL distortion that is coming. I mean, the UConns and the St. John's and those schools that don't spend NIL money but are cashing big dollar checks, they're about to start getting dudes in basketball.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I am interested to see what happens with the title games. It just feels like they're increasingly meaningless. I mean, they shouldn't be meaningless. I think winning a conference championship should matter, but now that you have bigger goals and you got the health of players and stuff, I mean, you can't blame a team for hedging its bets a little bit, can you?
And look, as much as the talking points, one, P5 put out there a handful of minutes ago in the chat, it's going to be even more puzzling next year when we go to 9 SEC games.
Yeah.
Yes, it will.
Which is why Greg Sankey called his shot before the season. Yeah. Sorry, Chase.
No, like that's going to be a big. That's going to change a lot.
Well, and then you got two teams playing 10 SEC games. What happens if you get 9-3, 9-3 in the SEC title game?
And see, Ranger just put up there, put that on the chat because that's 100% accurate, and it's one of the byproducts of the expansion of the playoff, and we all believe the playoff will expand further because there's money to be made. But the SEC tournament, unless you are Georgia, the tornado year, and you need to win it to get a bid, those guys treat them like scrimmages, man. I mean, with the exception of Bruce Pearl, who wanted to win every damn one because Auburn just hadn't won a whole lot of them. Yes, the kids want to win. Yes, you win a couple, 3 games and you get a chance. Yes. But in a league that got 14 bids last year, I mean, the SEC tournament it might as well be played in Maui around Thanksgiving.
Sam hit some stuff I want to touch on in a minute because I think he and I are on the little bit of the same page here. Before we do that, reminder, we are brought to you by our friends at Yearly Company. Nashville-based fine jewelry brand built on tradition and designed for meaning, each piece handcrafted from solid 14-karat gold, natural gemstones made to measure for a perfect fit, and backed by a lifetime guarantee. Every Yearly Company bangle is custom sized, so knowing your size is the most important first step before you order. That's where the sizing kit comes in. Code SE16KIT. Get you 100% off your sizing kit at checkout. Also, ROKFORM. They make the world's strongest magnetic phone case, extreme protection, super strong magnets, rock lock secure mounting. SEC25 gets you 25% off your entire order. We need a phone case for Bo Jackson. No. Jay's on mute.
That's Coco. I can't lift Bo Jackson.
Excuse me. Sorry. Bo Jackson's a little bigger, right? Yeah. Well, anyway, if Bo Jackson needed a phone case, he'd go to ROKFORM. He would also get the vent clip for his car because that's what I've got, and you will love it too. And also as to Yearly, hey, easy way to beat the Christmas shopping lines. Just go to them and get it done. So anyway, thank you to those who are up our channel here. Back to the comments. And this is touching on some stuff I said. You know, all this is about TV slots. And, like, you need that money. I get it. But I don't know. I just feel like we keep stacking rules changes on top of everything. Again, you need to blow the whole system up and start over. Everything from portal to playoffs and put it together in a sense that the puzzle fits together logically rather than adding here and there, which is what gets us in this mess. Sam says the unbalanced schedule is not attainable. They're going to have to go back to divisions. I'm not going to say we got divisions, but we did get the permanent opponents, which is kind of like mini divisions in the SEC.
No, it's not, because it's unbalanced as hell.
It's like Conference USA. Remember when they had like the red, white, and the blue divisions?
All right. See, with 16, my theory was always go to 4 pods, and you play everybody in your pod. And then your last Saturday of the regular season, 1 through 4 in each pod play at an opposite pod. You just leave it open and you flip home games every year. And then you treat the one-on-one in each pod as a semifinal. So at least you've got some structure. Look, man, the NFLization of this is happening. It's happening around us, and it's happening at a breakneck pace. But The NFL doesn't have this because they don't have people sitting in a room and go, we really would like to have Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. He sells tickets. I mean, I know they're 6-6. The Steelers, the Bengals, the Browns, no, we win more games than the Ravens. We get a ticket. We get a ticket to the dance. So they're going to have to put some sort of structure in that we can all look at, and they're going to have to find a way to agree on it, but they're not, because the SEC wants 5, and they're going to tell you that 2-loss Oklahoma, who the hell did Indiana play? It's a 1-loss Indiana team, and they just lost by 2 touchdowns to Ohio State. We played in the SEC, by God. We're Wolf of Wall Street. I mean, and you know what? They may be right, but you can't prove it, because then Ohio State and then Indiana's going to say, you know what? Y'all lost to Texas. Ohio State beat Texas. So shut up. And then you know what's going to happen? Vandy's going to be in the damn Music City Bowl at 10-2, and there's a real argument they got the best player in the country and should be in the playoff, but they lost at Texas, they lost at Alabama, and may have the 2 of the preseason wise. What the hell, man? And they're going to get left out.
I'm glad you brought.
Alabama's going to get in, and a whole lot of Vandy people are going to have every right to look up and go, we got branded. You picked the logo and not the resume.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Clark Lee said something really interesting in his press conference yesterday. He said, and he brought up spreads of games. He said, we were 10-2 against the spread this year. Analytical models, a lot of times ESPN's FPI are what we look at for, okay, this is resume strength, this is team strength of schedule, all kinds of things. And, I've said that they track very closely with betting lines. So if you link those things, what he's saying is we're a better team than we've been getting credit for all along. We're a better team that's showing up in the analytics. I still was looking at some stuff on FPI yesterday and comparing Vanderbilt to Georgia. Vanderbilt had them beat in scoring margin, yards per play, strength of schedule, and Georgia's 8 in FPI and Vanderbilt's 14. Now, I don't know that Vanderbilt's a better team than Georgia, but I don't know that they're not. But when you started digging in on his point, he made an interesting one, that we're looking at these analytics and they're not telling the complete picture of the team that we are. It was pretty interesting,
because you're grading on a curve. You're putting analytics to imbalanced comp case studies. In the NFL,
yeah,
the schedule model, the analytics in the NFL prove out relentlessly true. And they should,
because they're all playing basically the same type of schedule.
Same type of schedule, even built for parity, where ones play ones from the previous year.
Yep.
Your whole division plays that whole division. You play 2 division games, home and away, and it is staggered and stacked. But the comps of and that actually could possibly help Vandy's argument.
Yeah, and that was his point. And like, I'll make one for you, okay? You see teams every year that are up in the analytical models because they're beating, Georgia State, Ball State. They're just beating the tar out of those teams, and beating a team like that by 60 points is going to, those games all sort of get treated not equally in the analytics, but they have balancing ways. I just don't think that's apples to apples. And like, you see teams like Utah that are up there doing really well in the computer rankings, but when they play playoff type teams, they got beat 35-11 by Texas Tech at home. Like, there's a translation that we've tried to make, and we say this is it. We've solved the problem, but I don't know that we have. And I think that was kind of his point, Chase.
No, yeah. And yeah, I see that. And I feel like we don't have a good way to do this. I don't know if anyone is trying to think of a good word to say it. Just willing to make a right way to do it. And I know that'll take a lot of people agreeing to change what's been happening. I don't know if there's people humble enough to change the approach.
I don't think it's humility, Chase, because look, I think
it might be.
No, it's not humility. People in power don't give up power.
Yes.
Greg Sankey's not going to agree to squat.
That's humility.
Because it is going to look. I think I could go to Washington and really fix our country with one decision, and that would be putting term limits on Congress to a place where we've got people doing their job instead of worrying about keeping their jobs. But that'll never happen because the people in power are in power because they don't give up the power. And the Big Ten or the SEC, they're going to tell you to go bleep yourself. It's why the calendar is going to face such an uphill fight to be changed, because it only affects the playoff teams. And it only affects how many playoff teams have a coach getting poached, at least a head coach. This is such an anomaly. It should change, but it won't change because everybody else, including the power players, are going to want to make certain they have their roster in place by mid-January, knowing what final pieces they need on traditional signing day so they can go to spring practice with a team they got to put on the field to keep their job.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I'm getting so deep.
No. I had, first of all, somebody brought up the NFL schedules don't always end up balanced, and he's right, but it's a step in a better direction, right? Like if you're the best team and the worst team in the NFL, what is their difference per week in opponent they play? Maybe 4 or 5 points on average. Jay, you would know this better than I would.
I know teams getting 3.5 points cover the spread, 3.5 points or more cover the spread 58% of the time. So it's a field goal league.
Right. So the differences between the teams, between the hardest schedule and the least hardest schedule, are not huge. Like it's probably a touchdown or less on average, right?
But that stat is probably factoring in the surprise teams of maybe they were the third worst team in football last year, but they matched up with the Patriots, who are 11-2 after picking in the top 5 of the draft last year.
Yes.
So, I mean, stats can be skewed. I mean, 2 years ago, you thought Indiana was a cupcake.
Yeah.
Now they're going to walk you to the curb.
Well, the NFL does it in a logical way because what else are you going to do? You're not going to pick up Lindy's preseason magazine and assign the schedules that way, right? But at least there's a method to it, whereas there hasn't been in college football. I'm looking at this. I've done some strength of schedule stuff. The two teams that ended up having the toughest strength of schedule in the country by my metrics, the top 5 were UCLA, Wisconsin, Florida, Purdue, and LSU. UCLA, let's see, I'm going to compare them to the bottom Big Ten team in strength of schedule by what I've got. And that would be, I think, Nebraska. On average, UCLA played opponents that were 12 points harder week in and week out. Now that includes the out-of-conference schedule too. If you want to do it for the SEC, hardest schedule in the SEC was Florida. Weakest schedule in the SEC on average would have been, I believe, Ole Miss, and you had a difference there of about 9 points on average. Again, according to the way I've got it. So the differences are much bigger in college than in the pros. Actually, Indiana had the easiest schedule in the Big Ten, it looks like. No, sorry, it was Nebraska. Anyway. The point is strength of schedule makes the difference, and that always goes back to this part of this divisions thing.
All right, do we need to go back to Vandy getting screwed?
Whatever doesn't make your eyes glaze over. How about that?
Well, you start getting into the deep.
I know.
You start going Neo, and all the computer numbers start flying up here, and I just want to look at it and go, Mr. Anderson. I mean,
I know.
So
I have this habit of being the point guard and then jumping into the lane, leaving my feet.
All right,
thinking, I could pass it, I could shoot it.
I'm a volume shooter, and in consistency and emphasis on volume, as in like loud. But
don't leap before you think it all through. It's a lesson to me.
Well, Chase, Vandy ticked off tonight or not on a true or false Tuesday?
Yes, they will be. True.
Yeah.
What spot for the group? How high does Vandy need to be to feel good? And what should Vandy be?
I think they would need to be at 11, a minimum of 12 to feel like they have a chance. They're at 14 now.
What should they be, Chase?
Probably 11, right behind Alabama.
Yeah.
All right. See, this is me showing my ball handling skills and my point guard ability.
And I think we very well could see Vanderbilt that first team out tonight. That wouldn't surprise me. They're just going to need a lot to fall their way on championship weekend, and I don't think there will be enough that will happen for them to be able to get in.
The biggest kick to the crotch for Vandy was the way Miami trounced Pitt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because now Miami and Notre Dame are going to be up there in the song and dance. And, I mean, look, Vandy's in a real pickle.
Did you catch Vanderbilt went to Knoxville and clocked Tennessee?
Clocked them.
And dropped the spot in the AP poll. For whatever that's worth. Don't figure that one out. But all right, let's do this. Quick exercise. College football playoff poll. Last week, Ohio State at 1. Ohio State beat Michigan by what, 15-17? Ohio State's not moving out of 1, right?
Correct.
Gosh, no. And now, to be fair, they're 100% deserving of that.
Sure.
But you guys, I know y'all have other obligations. I was doing laundry and watching college football all day Saturday, and it was glorious. Ohio State kicked the snot out of Michigan in the snow and on the road and punched him in the face and made him like it. Yeah,
I watched some of it on the plane coming back. So, yeah, I mean, Ohio State. Ohio State's going to win this whole thing, right?
No,
really? Okay. Well, I'll let you save that for later.
Well, let me say that I'm not predicting it right now because I don't know the bracket. But if you were asking me as a betting man when I take Ohio State or the field, I'm taking the field.
Okay, yeah, but you'd take Ohio State if you had to take a team.
No, I'm taking Georgia.
Woo. Okay, interesting. I can kind of see it.
I've been on Georgia since Halloween, man.
You have been consistent, my man. You have.
So.
Okay, number 2, Indiana last week clocked Purdue. Indiana stays at 2, I think.
Yeah.
A&M was 3. A&M lost to Texas. A&M is clearly going to drop. Georgia was 4. I would presume Georgia moves ahead of Texas for the time being. Could change, or Texas A&M could change after the SEC championship game. So Georgia probably going to 3. We good that? We good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So then you're looking at, where does Texas A&M fall? Next team is Texas Tech.
4.
So we think Texas Tech moves ahead of A&M?
Yes.
Yeah.
A&M's going to get – they're not going to like the conversation being had here because of a whole lot of the names on the schedule.
Yeah.
And this was the first A&M's strongest thing to be an absolute dunk here is not the one in the column in the second rail of their record. It's that they beat A&M. They beat Notre Dame in Notre Dame.
Yep. They're getting in.
They're
It's just
100%
a question
they're
of
getting
where.
in.
Yeah.
I'm not in a million years saying they're not, but they're about to fall a handful of spots because look, the committee is juggling a handful of chainsaws and a handful of on fire bowling pins at the same time because they're going to have to satisfy the two fat kids at the CC buffet that in the Big Ten and the SEC, but you can't just put the Big Ten and the SEC entirely in this thing. So how far Texas A&M falls directly impacts Vandy.
Yeah, so we're going to go Texas Tech at 3. Excuse me, at 4. Okay, Oregon was 6. Does Oregon pass Texas A&M? Oregon beat Washington on the road. Pretty good win. I don't think it was particularly close from what I remember. And then, of course, A&M, as we said, lost to Texas. I think I'm putting Oregon at 5, guys.
I am too.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Which puts us between Texas A&M and Ole Miss. I feel like A&M's got better wins, including Notre Dame. I think I go A&M at 6. Are we good with that? Or do you put Ole Miss in that spot?
No, I know because A&M's the easy prediction here, Chase, because of all the drama, because of the unknowns. I think they're both locks at 11-1 in this league, but I think the order will be A&M then Ole Miss.
Yeah, I do too. I think.
Do you really? Yeah, and I agree with you too. So we're good there. So far, we've got 7 in the books. I think Oklahoma has to stay at 8, and Notre Dame. The only question here, and I don't know that it really matters. Does Alabama pass Notre Dame? They're both 10-2. Frankly, Alabama's got better wins. Notre Dame beat, who was it? Beat Stanford, which is awful. And Alabama went and won at Auburn, which we know is with Hugh Freeze not there anymore, Jay Greeson, just going to point that out. Not an easy win.
I think they keep Alabama at 10.
You want to talk about Chase the Cadillac Bowl? I mean, there ain't no way Alabama or Notre Dame going to have a beef about, well, we got logoed, because that's two heavy hitters.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're going Oklahoma 8. Are we going Notre Dame? Did we say Notre Dame at 9? Sorry, I was getting a private message here.
Yeah.
And Alabama at 10.
Yeah,
now, here's my question. If Alabama beats Georgia, I think Alabama has to slide ahead of Notre Dame in the pecking order. I mean, I guess that's a question we can tackle next week. Alabama's problem is it's kind of locked. Its altitude is kind of locked by Oklahoma sitting there at 8.
Yeah.
So, which is, I think, a little bit unfair to Alabama, but
it may be. But it also has the totality of the year matters. It also has the worst loss of any team in that we've mentioned so far. The FSU loss is egregious.
Yeah, there's another team that had a bad loss on that level. Texas Tech's loss to Arizona State might be just as bad, to be honest with you.
Arizona State at the time was ranked on the road,
well,
and Alabama was on the road too.
Florida State was ranked around that time too. Just saying,
they were ranked after it. But
well, I know
before it,
but still, yeah. I mean, anyway, not important to the discussion. So we're going Alabama 10. Last week we had BYU at 11.
I think Miami moves up.
Okay, because Miami clocked Pitt. Okay, well, if that's true, so BYU would be 12. Vanderbilt's got to flip Utah from 14 to 13, right?
You would think so.
You would
But
think Utah's got an AD on the
13's
committee.
meaningless. I mean, 13's not even Lenardi's first two out.
Right. Is that where we're going?
I'll be real interested to see the absolute skyrocket they put up Virginia's ass as they zoom up there in hopes that the ACC champion will at least have a number by its name.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a feeling Virginia gets the benefit of the doubt in this because the ACC not having a champion, boy, you're going to have a conference that's upset. So what do we do with Texas?
No chance.
That doesn't matter, too far out. So do we I guess we got to leave BYU ahead of Andy, 12 at 13.
I mean, you can, but only one of them has a chance. Like Vandy would be desperate to play in Atlanta because but BYU, if BYU loses, they're out.
Yeah. So I mean, if BYU loses,
wins, everybody's doinked again.
Yeah, then Vanderbilt goes. So if BYU loses, Vanderbilt would go to the 12 spot, I would think. But the right in front of you is Miami, who's not playing. I presume that's locked in tonight. If Alabama falls out, Miami just gets that spot. The only thing is if you do a reassessment of Notre Dame,
you're not going to rank Vandy ahead of Notre Dame.
Well, I don't.
Vandy
I
may
don't
be
think
better
they are
than
either.
Notre Dame. I'm not saying the committee is not going to put a sixth SEC team in ahead of Notre Dame.
Yeah. Well, the committee called it shot, Jay. You saw it. We pointed out when we did the first show live that the committee did something I thought was a little disingenuous. First rankings, I think the committee had Notre Dame at 9 or 10, and it put Miami, I think, at 18. And the reason I thought that stood out was the committee said, okay, if teams are close, that's where the head-to-head comparisons were. So when you put Notre Dame, 8, 9 spots ahead of Miami, there's no comparison. What the committee has done is it's locked Notre Dame in, and it's sneakily moved Miami up week by week, which I think is fishy. Because if you'd done head-to-head to begin with, then Miami starts way ahead of Notre Dame. And then it's a different landscape for Notre Dame. I just have thought the way they do that and the way they treat the Big 12 have been suspect from the go. But
I mean, there's so many layers to that, Chris, that we're already 67 minutes into this thing. And we hadn't even got to even if Vandy gets doinked tonight, it's a great day to be a Vanderbilt Commodore.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they got a 5-star QB today.
Yeah, that happened as we're doing this. Jared Curtis has flipped from Georgia to Vanderbilt, apparently. I've been getting texts like crazy, so I haven't been able to verify it. I'm just going to trust them. But yeah, the biggest recruit in Vanderbilt history, the number 3 prospect in the country at 24/7 and a Nashville kid. So, yeah, we're living in crazy times, guys.
That's monster for them. I mean, everybody's been saying, well, what is Clark Lee going to be without Diego Pavia? Well, he's recruiting guys that are going to help Vanderbilt stay relevant, and it starts right here with this one. I mean, that's huge for them. That's huge for Clark Lee and company. Like, they are, what they've done this year, I feel like, is setting the precedence where Vandy's going to keep being relevant, especially getting guys like that.
Yeah. And
moreover,
I think, go ahead, Jay.
The numbers I saw, Chris, were Georgia had ponied up $1.8 million in a pledge because he was a Georgia commit, but which tells me Vandy's about to unzip it and drop it on the table. I mean, they're a private school with a huge bankroll, and they don't have to divulge crap.
Yeah.
So if Vanderbilt wants to go money whip, folks, buckle up.
Yeah. It's always been a weird place. It's always been at their disposal if they wanted to tap into it. By the way, Jared Curtis was driving a Lamborghini around Nashville a few months back. So
Well, he's working at Starbucks through the holidays, making some lattes with some peppermint spice.
Kirby Smart, I hope that car was leased. I think you're probably smart enough to have made that choice ahead of time. But yeah, what a bizarre time we're in. Like if you'd gone back and said 2 years ago, we're talking about Vanderbilt, what is its path to make the college football playoff after all the games have been played and they're flipping Jared Curtis. I mean, like, I would have just laughed you out of the room as you guys would have too.
Oh yeah.
Oh gosh. I mean, the thought you offered earlier were about if 2 years ago you said what's the path for Vanderbilt to make the college football playoff, I would have said
drop down a division.
Ohio State. I mean,
yeah. Plane crashes for.
No, come on now.
Yeah.
We are Marshall.
I took it a dark
place, man. Don't be doing that kind of voodoo.
Yeah. Well, hey, look. The weird thing for them, though, is they have built their whole brand on we're guys who were overlooked. We're grinders. And now, like, you always, when you were in college football, you want to get better players. That's common sense. But there's a different dynamic that comes with 5 stars than come with Diego Pavia. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they sort of switch their lanes with all that. Yeah. Anyway, any parting thoughts, gentlemen? And you too, Jay.
Wow. You just hit me with the NASCAR, I forget who it was, but somebody went to the NASCAR podium and went, gentlemen, and Jimmy Spencer, start your engines. So, all right. No, that's it.
Yeah. All right. It was fun. Yeah. Enjoyed it. We'll have more content coming up. Don't know what that looks like this week. But yeah, interesting time in college football. We're here to cover it. We got you covered in college basketball, getting a head start on college baseball. So anyway, thank you guys for watching today. God bless you. Have a great week. For Chase Robinson, Jay Greeson, I'm Chris Lee. You've been watching Southeastern 16 presented by FanDuel.